Is it survival of the strongest or survival of the fittest? The Stoic philosophy of true resilience. Take a look at your life. When have you broken? And when have you simply bent and then snapped back? The difference between the two is the difference between strength and resilience. In a world that demands chaos and confrontation, we turn to the ancient philosophy that teaches us how to use the storm's energy for our own survival. This is not about fighting the world, it's about making yourself indispensable to it. What if the most famous rule of nature, survival of the fittest, has been completely misunderstood? This phrase has justified ruthlessness for centuries, making us believe the biggest bully wins. But the original wisdom, refined by the Stoics, is a profound call for internal control, not external conquest. Stop chasing brute strength. Start asking, are you strong or are you actually fit? The answer changes everything. Today, we dive into a question as old as humanity itself, a debate that echoes from the jungle floor to the boardroom. Is it survival of the strongest or survival of the fittest? This isn't just a biological argument. It is a profound philosophical, psychological, and ethical dilemma that defines how we find real, lasting success. Stay with us. Perhaps the facts in this video may change your life forever. The myth of blind strength and the psychological view. When we hear survival of the strongest, we often conjure images of brute force, aggression, and domination. But this interpretation ignores what psychology has consistently taught us about true power. In the field of psychology, excessive strength and a need for absolute control are often linked to fragile egos and poor emotional regulation. The person who must always assert physical or material power over others is frequently operating from a place of deep insecurity. The verdict from psychology. Sustainable success is not rooted in extrinsic aggression, but in psychological resilience and self-efficacy. Truly successful people are those who can manage their emotions, recover from setbacks, and maintain positive relationships, qualities that the physically or materially strongest often lack. They are resilient, not rigid. The wisdom of the fittest and the Stoic perspective, internal control. This is where the concept of the fittest finds its deepest philosophical meaning in Stoicism. For the Stoics, fitness is self-mastery, not world mastery. The philosopher Epictetus taught us to divide life into two areas: things within our control, our opinions, our impulses, our judgments, and things not within our control, our body, our reputation, external success. Stoic survival of the fittest means adapting to reality. Amor Fati. Accepting everything that happens as a necessary part of the universal process. The fit person doesn't waste energy fighting what cannot be changed. Moral integrity, virtue as the only good. True strength lies in wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. The fit person succeeds through these virtues, not at the expense of them. The focus on effort, not outcome, the inner citadel. The Stoic focuses not on the result of their effort, but on the quality of the effort itself. If you perform your duties wisely and diligently, you are the fittest, regardless of the external score sheet. Stoic conclusion. To be the fittest is to be the most internally adaptable to external chaos. Visual. A single figure standing calm amidst a chaotic storm. We have two deep contemplative examples. The meditation of the cherry tree in the storm. Contemplate a massive cherry tree in a garden, hit by a sudden, violent storm. Blind strength. One tree's roots were so thick and rigid that they allowed no bend. When the wind roared, the tree didn't flex. It snapped. It was strong, but utterly inflexible. Fittest and Adaptation. Another, slightly smaller cherry tree had flexible branches that permitted sway. When the storm hit, it bent, it shook, it lost some leaves, but it did not break. When the storm passed, it stood upright again, ready to bloom. The lesson. Survival is not for the greatness that stiffens, but for the flexibility that bends and returns. Be resilient like the branch, not brittle like the rock. The meditation of the boat on the choppy river. Imagine your boat on a swift, rock-filled river with treacherous currents. Blind strength. The strongest person rows violently against the current, trying to force their material strength and will upon the river's path. They quickly tire and often crash into rocks. Stoic fitness. The fittest person, the Stoic, steers the boat. They do not fight the river. They focus on what they control, the angle of the rudder, the minimal effort needed to avoid a boulder. They know when to let the current carry them, acceptance, and when to adjust their course, effective action. They use the river's energy to their advantage. The lesson. Strength is struggle. Fitness is the conscious mastery of self-control. We come to the philosopher's advice, how to be the fittest. To truly thrive and endure, you must shift your focus from external power to internal fitness. Practice the dichotomy of control. Before every major action, ask, is this under my control? If the answer is no, dismiss the worry and focus your energy solely on your own conduct. Build psychological resilience. Learn from psychology that failure is not a catastrophe. It is a feedback mechanism. Treat hardship as a mental workout, not a threat to your existence. Choose ethics as your survival strategy. True fitness makes you a reliable collaborator. Cooperation, trust, and shared building are the most successful strategies, biologically and humanly, in the long run. Survival, my friends, is not for the one with the longest sword, but for the one with a wise, stoic mind, a flexible, adaptive heart, and a soul that knows genuine power always flows from within. Let us live our lives as proof that survival is always, ultimately, for the fittest to learn, the fittest to cooperate, and the fittest to leave the world better than they found it. 3 meditations on true survival beyond the longest sword. The ancient wisdom speaks a clear truth. Survival, my friends, is not for the one with the longest sword, but for the one with a wise, stoic mind, a flexible, adaptive heart, and a soul that knows genuine power always flows from within. Here are 3 contemporary vignettes that illuminate this path of inner resilience. The entrepreneur and the ash of failure, the wise stoic mind. Imagine the young founder, whose 2 years of sweat and spirit were poured into a startup, a technological edifice that now lies in ash. The market's strongest competitors, armed with boundless funding, the longest swords, swiftly overtook him. The temptation is to drown in self-pity and rage. Yet the wise stoic mind intervenes. He practices the dichotomy of control. He accepts the market's judgment, the competitor's timing, and the external failure as events beyond his will. He does not waste energy mourning the unchangeable. He shifts his focus entirely to the internal, the clarity of his analysis, and the integrity of his next decision. He treats the failure not as a tombstone, but as a rich source of data. The aesthetic truth. The victory does not go to the company with the heaviest coffers, but to the soul capable of pivoting, of turning bitter ashes into fertile ground. His resilience lies not in fighting the external war, but in the serene reevaluation that only a mind unburdened by ego can achieve. A second example, the veteran in the toxic current, the flexible, adaptive heart. Consider the veteran employee caught in an organizational whirlpool. New, aggressive management and constantly shifting directives poison the office atmosphere. Many colleagues, strong in title and tenure, become rigid, break under the stress, and depart, their souls depleted. This veteran employs the flexible, adaptive heart. She accepts the river's turbulence without being swept away by its bitterness. She refuses to participate in the collective cynicism that drains the spirit, choosing inner tranquility over group drama. Her focus is her craft. She anchors her sense of worth not to her manager's fickle praise or the shifting corporate chart, but to the unwavering quality of her own output and the constant cultivation of new skills. The aesthetic truth. While the strong are broken by change, the adaptable one remains buoyant. Her survival is a testament to the fact that inner stability is the highest form of professional endurance. When the storm subsides, it is she, untouched by the moral corrosion of the environment, who naturally rises to lead the new structure. A third example, the artist and the ephemeral glare, the soul of genuine power. Picture the soulful artist or writer in the age of algorithms, where millions chase fleeting trends. Their deep, meaningful work struggles for visibility, while superficial content gains instant, viral power, the longest sword of mass attention. This creator embodies the soul that knows genuine power flows from within. They reject the platform's fleeting definition of power, the noise of quick celebrity. Instead, they define success by artistic honesty, ethical craftsmanship, and fidelity to their voice. They withdraw from the corrosive comparisons. They know the algorithm's favor is ephemeral, a factor outside their true control. Their strength resides in consistency and the depth of their message. The aesthetic truth. The power of the sword is loud, but the power of the soul is eternal. While the flash in the pan fame fades, the work rooted in internal integrity and profound value endures. True survival here is measured not in viral views, but in the unyielding resonance that only genuine, self-authorized art can achieve. The fatal illusion of solitary power. We have seen that sheer force, the power of the longest sword, is the illusion of permanence. It is a power that lives on the edge, exhausting both its possessor and those around them. It breeds enemies, sows distrust, and depends on the world remaining static. But the world has never been, and will never be, still. Remember this: the hardest oak is the first to shatter in the storm. The most dominating empire is the one that collapses under the weight of its own internal rigidity. In the end, strength that refuses to adapt is merely a transient historical footnote. The new social contract of true fitness. The survival of the fittest is not an endpoint. It is the seed of a new beginning. It calls us to forge a social contract with ourselves and with humanity, a covenant built upon the four pillars that form the essence of human fitness. Cognitive fitness, the Stoic mind. To be fit is to be aware. The aware person sees failure not as a condemnation, but as neutral data to be analyzed by the rational mind. When despair arrives, they do not ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What can I learn from this? And what part of this challenge is within my circle of control?" This ability to decouple the self from the outcome is an unconquerable mental fortitude. Emotional fitness, the psychological resilience. Psychology whispers the secret. The fittest are the most emotionally pliable. This is not weakness. It is the capacity to absorb massive shocks without changing your moral foundation, to endure immense pressure only to straighten again, to find inner stillness amidst external chaos. This is a strength that cannot be bought, only earned through reflection and practice. Ethical fitness, the virtue-driven force. Here is the deepest truth. Sustainable human survival cannot be divorced from ethics. Societies that champion cooperation, justice, and honesty are the longest-lasting and most prosperous. The long-term winner is not the individual who betrays to ascend, but the one who builds trust. When circumstances change, the ethical person survives because they have cultivated a network of supportive, reciprocal relationships. Virtue is not a soft ideal. It is the ultimate survival strategy passed down through millennia of social evolution. Existential fitness, meaning and purpose. Ultimately, true survival is not merely the continuation of breath, but the continuation of life with meaning. The human who knows their purpose and serves a value greater than themselves is the most resilient and grounded. You are not just fighting to survive, you are fighting to embody a value in the world. This value is the fire that gives you the strength to stand after every fall, a power that springs from the unshakable belief that your existence makes a difference. The philosophy of survival, the legacy of humanity. Music shifts to a more majestic and rising tempo. Lighting becomes focused and intense. Friends, thinkers, fellow travelers. After our profound journey through the concepts of strength and fitness, after setting aside the sword of aggression for the shield of Stoic wisdom, we arrive at the defining moment. What does all of this mean for your life right now? The question, is it survival of the strongest or survival of the fittest, is not just a query. It is a mandate for choice. It is a mirror held up to the very core of your identity. The final charge, which camp do you choose? My viewer, you stand at a decisive crossroads. Will you choose superficial strength that threatens to shatter at the first blow? The power of the sword that flashes brightly, then goes dark? Or will you choose profound fitness, which demands immense inner work, yet grants you the flexibility of the branch and the strength of the root, a power that no external force can ever take away? Remember Darwin's own profound insight. The communities that include the greatest number of the most sympathetic and cooperative members will flourish best. Let every challenge you face be a testament that we, as a species, choose to ascend, that we no longer fight for dominance, but we innovate for adaptation, and that the legacy we leave is not for the strongest, but for the fittest and the most humane. This is the real test of your life. Let your answer be your legacy. Did this video add anything new to your knowledge? Click the like button and tell us in the comments which part of the video and which piece of information you liked and were curious about. If you aren't subscribed to Edulosophy channel, subscribe now as we delve deeper than others dare.